With the introduction of different characters into a tactical shooter, all with different utility, it's obvious that all characters are going to have different strengths. Playing these characters with their strengths in mind is what's going to make or break each player. Some characters are capable of doing things that others are just not. If I wanted to smoke off mid and push B site as Brimstone, that's going to be pretty easy for me. But if I wanted to smoke off mid as Breach and push B site, it's not going to really work out. Even though there are some things that I can't do with particular characters, that's what makes the game beautiful. Being able to work with a team to accomplish tasks together is the whole point of the game. Playing to each other's weaknesses, mending each other's broken hearts. No, but for real, if you want to be good at the game and be a helpful teammate, you probably should learn the role of your character to begin with. The role of a character isn't determined by the way they look, it's about what their abilities set them up to be good at. A character like Sova isn't made for cooking dinner and picking up chicks. He's a utility guy. He plays better from a distance. His recon bolt recharges over the course of a round. The more enemies you reveal throughout the round, the more likely you are to win. It's only like a 35-second cooldown. You should honestly just chill back and use this thing so frequently. There's no reason not to. Every time you reveal a player, they have to pull back and reposition. It is actually so strong, and I haven't been seeing people use it very correctly. And it's early on in the game. As time goes on, people will adapt to it, but for the most part, it is painful to watch people who don't use their abilities. Sova also has a shock bolt that does a decent amount of damage, but don't be mistaken, this is definitely one of his worst abilities. Meanwhile, take a character like Breach. He might seem like an entry fragger, but he's actually better in the role of assisting an entry fragger. The delay on his abilities makes it so it's very difficult for him to actually use the ability and then go in to get the pick. I think he'd be much better in combination with a character like Jett, where he can land his abilities through the wall, and then Jett can come and peek on a player who is stunned or blinded or lower health because they're out of position because he used his blast through the wall or whatever. I don't know. He's a weird character, and he seems kind of hard to understand for a lot of people. And even for a second, for me, I had trouble grasping him. But being weird doesn't mean that a character is bad. In fact, a lot of the time, these characters that come out for League of Legends, for example, who people don't really understand, end up being broken within a week when people start to actually get the hang of them and actually start to utilize them. A lot of characters like Azir, for example, are lesser played just because they're difficult. People don't get them right away, and it's not worth putting in the time to learn a character like this. Although I think right now in League, Azir is just not that good. But if you go up against an Azir one-trick in League of Legends, a lot of the times he'll just trash on you just because he's a mechanically challenging character, and he really understands his kit. They know how to utilize it. They know how to play the character. They can really give a team a run for their money. More importantly, a character like Breach's value, though, is going to be more determined by the position that he is playing. Yeah, if you put a character like Breach out in the open trying to challenge a character like Jett or Viper with all their smokes and stuff, it's probably just not going to work. Breach is best played in these close corridors where a team has to push into him, where he can use his abilities to really mess up the enemy team. Areas with lots of doors and walls that he can use his abilities through the wall to actually hit enemies, rather than having to find these little makeshift corners where he can kind of flash through to hopefully get a kill or a pick or some I don't know what he's looking for a lot of the times. Whereas, for example, if you take a character like Viper, you can put her pretty much anywhere and she'll be all right. She's got the smokes in her kit. She's got the Molotov with her spit fire. What's the thing called? The Venom dude. But if you're trying to play Breach in the wide open, you're just gonna struggle. If you're playing a character that's not amazing in every position, you're going to have to figure out what positions that character excels in, and then you're going to have to really work around that. And if that means making the call out to your team, hey, I'm going to play showers, or hey, I'm not very good in this position, can we switch? Then that's what you got to do. But I think a lot of people are afraid to communicate in this game sometimes. It's okay to ask to play a different position. But people are generally pretty okay with that. As I had just said, Breach is particularly strong playing a position like bathrooms on the map Bind. An entire enemy team is just inside this little room while you are throwing flashbangs, stun grenades, damage, and you even, if you wanted to put the icing on the cake, use your ultimate. It'll knock up everybody in there. You can push in and you can just wipe an entire enemy team. What's even worse is if your team takes the teleporter on the other side of the map, which puts you right behind bathrooms, where you can just come in and mow them down. Obviously, this makes a really loud noise, and if they're watching the teleporter, that can kind of screw your team up. But if you have a character like Omen going through the teleporter, he can paranoia through the door, which can throw off anybody who's watching that position. And if you have the Brimstone ulti coming in, that's going to hit anybody in that general area. Just absolutely nuts how far this ability actually goes. Like I said before, being good in only specific situations doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad. It oftentimes just means that you really excel in that one position. Another example of a very situational character is a character like Cypher. This is a character with 0 offensive abilities in a game where you need to play half of the game on offense. He focuses more on messing up the enemy team with information rather than actually just going in and getting those frags. If you try to play Cypher as a hard aggressor, it's just not going to work out for you. Well then, King, how do we play him on offense then? Well, use your tripwires in a way that is going to get people who might be rotating behind you. People like to play aggressive, especially on maps like Haven, which is a very large map. When somebody's pushing C site on Haven, it's very tempting to go from A site and come pushing in. If Cypher's placing his tripwires through these doorways and people don't catch them, they could walk through these things, completely revealing themselves to their flank, rooting them in place if you have somebody watching that position as well. He really shuts anything of that down. Plus, he has a spy cam that he can place behind him potentially to make sure that nobody is pushing in behind them. There's just so many things that you can do with this character. Beyond that, if you're able to get an early pick and he's able to use his ultimate to reveal everybody on the enemy team, that's just game over. Game over, man, game over. Or even more, if you're having trouble pushing a site, he can just place down his camera. And now they only have 2 options. They can either shoot it and reveal their position by gunfire, or they can not shoot it and reveal their position by the camera spotting them. He's a character that's not as versatile as somebody like Jet, where she can kind of just do anything, but rather he seems like he excels more as like a mental character, somebody who is going to outsmart the enemy team, somebody who is going to be outplaying them, just killing them with information, basically. The abilities of these characters are their bread and butter, which brings me to my final point. Use your abilities. They're so good for every single character, and I'm just not seeing people use them enough. And even better, dude, they're so cheap. You can buy a full kit of utility in this game for like 600 credits. Dude, in Counter-Strike, it costed you like $1,000 to buy a full kit of utility. You can purchase for fairly cheap in this game. And if you have some abilities left over from the round before, you can actually full buy with 3,900. You can buy a Vandal and you can buy full armor. And then you have all the utility that you need within your abilities. It's actually nuts and it's amazing. It is so much fun. I generally start all games by just buying all of my abilities and then buying light armor. My logic here is that even if you don't use all of your abilities in the first round, they will carry over to the next round, which will pretty much let you force a buy with an SMG and armor, regardless of what side you're on or if you win the first round. It's going to be really interesting to see how the meta takes fold within this game, where you'll have teams that are more frequently full buying, it seems like, which is going to keep the game's pacing actually a little faster. With Counter-Strike, it feels like you definitely have those down rounds where you just need to save. And in this game, it doesn't happen as frequently. I'll have games where I'll drop like a 9 bomb within like the first 4 or 5 rounds. And I will just have all the money that I need for that entire half. I will be able to full buy AK armor every single round with this. It's actually kind of nutty, honestly. People just seem so afraid to use their abilities sometime. And you just need to recognize that they are so cheap. For me to buy all of my abilities, because you have your signature ability generally. And then you have your ultimate ability. And then it's just like $400, 400 credits or whatever to purchase the other abilities. Just use them very willingly. The whole game is built around these abilities. This is like the thing that makes the game different. Of course, you have to land shots to be good at the game, but like these are supposed to assist you in landing those shots. If you die with abilities up, then you died with utility up. Utility that could have otherwise prevented you from dying in the first place. If you died with a smoke grenade, for example, you died with an ability that could have prevented that person who killed you from seeing you. The first star player that we're going to see for Valorant is going to be the first player who really learns how to use their abilities. This is what makes the game different. If you want to be good at Valorant, this is what you need to learn. So what are you waiting for? Go out there and win some games. Thanks guys for watching the video. My name is The King Live. If you enjoyed it, we cover a lot of different Valorant stuff. We make a ton of videos like this. So be sure to go subscribe to the channel and also follow me on twitch.tv/TheKingLive. We stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. Central. We also have a Discord server if anybody's looking to hang out. We have a bunch of really freaking cool people in there. We kind of all just hang out, talk about Valorant, group up together and stuff. It's a really good time. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video.